I also wanted to talk just a little bit about working with refugees. And one major thing that I always keep in mind is the way that I dress when I'm in the classroom. I would definitely encourage any female volunteers out there to dress conservatively because you, if you notice, at least the Somali women that we serve, and many refugees are Muslim or they have a certain dress code that they follow, and so to gain their respect, it's very necessary to dress not necessarily exactly like them, but to dress respectfully. And so I never wear anything above my knee. And in general, I keep my arms covered. I don't, it's pretty hot out there in the summer now. So sometimes I will go in with short sleeves, but mostly I go in with long sleeves. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're in a position where you should have your students' respect, and you need their respect to be able to push them and to help them learn. Uh, you need them to be able to look up to you in a way, and I don't see how that would be honestly possible if you weren't taking into consideration the way that you dress. Also, I've noticed working with refugees, especially the women, they are very traumatized in ways that we probably don't even know or can imagine. I mean, rape is very common in refugee camps. The median time spent in the refugee camp by our refugees is 15 years. So for 15 years, they did not have a home. Um, Many have had children die. Many have had family members die. Many of them can remember the war. They have horror stories of being woken up in the middle of the night by um, some sort of attacker. I don't even know. I've tried to talk to him a little bit about it, with knives and machetes, and it's just really scary stories. So they all are operating under such a certain level of trauma that honestly is so great. It does stunt their growth as students. And so it's always important to take that into consideration when you're teaching and or tutoring or volunteering with them. They there's going to be more barriers in a way. You're going to feel it. You're like, why is this so hard to do? Some days it's just going to be really hard to teach and really hard you just feel like they're not learning it or something, and it can get sort of disappointing and discouraging. But that is the trauma. I have no doubt that's where the discouragement um, originates from. Plus, many of them are learning how to read and write at a later age, and so there is a certain level of embarrassment. They are definitely aware that, oh, everyone else has sort of learned how to do this already, and I don't know. And that can be hard to admit. Just like anyone, it's really hard to admit that you don't know something. Uh, for any student, that's you just want to sort of know everything, but that's not possible, and especially not possible for them when they've never been educated before, most likely. So it's really important to take into consideration that they're going to have a very low self-confidence level, and that they're going to be an even lower one in a way because of their trauma. And it's funny, but the classroom has ended up being a place of real sunshine and happiness for my students. We don't they they are so able to leave their worries and their troubles at the door. For them, the class becomes more and more a sense of like freedom and hope and inspiration and self-confidence. But that takes a lot of time to build. That takes a lot of energy from you as a teacher or as a volunteer to build that sense of this is a safe environment and you are so welcome And there is no stupid question in here. There is no stupid person. You know, it doesn't matter. If you don't know how to hold a pencil, great, welcome. You know, so that will take time and energy to create that atmosphere. But if you can create that atmosphere, you will fly as a teacher, and they will fly as students. You'll see them. It's really neat. It's really, really neat. So those are definitely considerations I would take into teaching. Also, the women. I get a lot of women in my class because the women generally are the ones that are not taught. Men can leave the house and get educated, but women, because there's so many children, they have to stay at home with them, and so they're not necessarily taught in their own culture. So here they get a chance to do that, to be taught and be educated. And I definitely sense more of a lack of self-confidence in them as women than with the men. It just seems to show up more. And that's probably because of trauma and because of lack of education background. They just have never been in a classroom before. So always try and keep those things in mind when you're working with refugees. Just how much life that they've lived, how much can impede them from learning, just within their own souls. You know, they've just been through so much, but they can do it, and you have to believe that first for them, and that's what can be hard as a teacher, is to take that on. But if you do believe it for them, then they'll start to believe it, and the load will get lighter as you go on.